Thank you very much, Ibu Linda. Well, we've heard from Pak Willie, the information and pedagogy, and from Pak Ideal about the issues of writing, article writing, researching, and publication. Now, mine is a little bit simpler and easier, I should say. And before I come to my material, I'd like to show you two pictures, or just for refreshing the picture in the chapter. Here are the pictures. And in 10 seconds, I'd like you to say something about the pictures in the chapter. That whatever your assumption is about the pictures, you can put in the chapter. So now let's see. In male's brain, there are like women, women, women. Sorry about that. I'm not trying to take side here, but you can see through the picture. And then driving skill, listening, and so on and so forth. And female brain, there are shopping, commitment, driving skill, shiny things, and so on and so forth. And all are interesting to be discussed, I guess. Unfortunately, I'm not going to go deeper into the discussion of whatever in male's brain or in female's brain, but I'm still thinking about something to relate with my topic, something interesting to show you before I direct you to my presentation. So it's about gender differences, but particularly I'm looking at EFL speaking class in Indonesia and to see whether or not it matters. So according to you, now I'd like to ask randomly, I copy paste Pak Willie's way of presenting things. I'd like someone to tell me the assumption of the answer. Does it matter? Can I have the opinion of Grace, please? Maria Gracia, what do you think? I know you're very interested in. It's very interesting for you to talk about gender differences. So, what do you think about the answer? Does it matter?
Yes, it's middle.
Okay, it matters. Now let's jump to the background. It's always interesting talking about the relationship between gender issues and the issues of language. So we, in the light of ELT, to unfold the package of gender and language learning and how gender differences can affect language learning is always fascinating, because it will reveal how different males and females' brains are and how unique each brain can process the language she or he is learning. However, I'm not going to discuss about neuroscience of language or neurolinguistic. I'm not going to explain to you how the language is going to be processed in either males or females' brains. What I'm going to discuss here about how these gender issues relate to the issues of language, particularly on speaking skill. So males and females are different in the way they're using language. I'm sure we all are aware about the fact. They're different in pronunciation, using stress and intonation in their talking, vocabulary and word choice. You guys, you think about some particular words they usually use. And ladies, well, maybe some of you prefer to use more polite language compared to males. It's different, right? And then syntax. They usually show different attitudes and manners in using language on politeness basis. And then they are different as well in choosing topics they want to talk about. Usually males like talking about sport, for example. Females like talking about Korean movies, Korean actors. or any other topic. But what I'm trying to show you here is there are several differences between males and females in the way they're using language. The difference is not only on how to use the language, but also on how to perform the language. Females usually give quicker response because they think and learn faster. And then on the other way around, males are a little bit slower and more careful in thinking and choosing every single word comes out of their mouth. Tell me if I'm wrong, but this is from several sources that I read. And then you can see here the differences between the use of language of males and females can be seen from several aspects. And the aspect of from performance condition consists of time pressure, planning the amount of support, and affective factors. You can see here, there are three: motivation, self-confidence, and anxiety. We'll see in a moment about these factors. But now let me jump to the research questions. The first one is, or the main research question here is there any relationship between gender differences and students' participation and engagement in speaking class? Looking from several factors that can affect speaking performance, namely performance condition, affective factors, listening ability, topical knowledge, and feedback during speaking activities. So there are 5 factors to look at. And then the sub-question is to see how gender differences relate to each other, each factors that can affect speaking performance, the aforementioned factors. And it's the objectives are very standard. You know, it's in line with research questions. The first one is to report on whether or not there's a relationship between gender differences and students' participation, engagement. But Willie talked about engagement before, engagement in the classroom. Performance and achievement in speaking class. And additionally, it aims at identifying how gender differences relate to those factors mentioned earlier. I'm going to make it quick. Theoretical foundation, I just focus on the factors I mentioned before. The first one is from Nation and Newton, saying that performance condition is one of the factors that consists of time pressure, planning, standard of performance, and amount of support. But in this study, I tried to exclude standard of performance and amount of support because it's not really easy for me to observe in a very limited time. So the factors that I looked at are only time pressure and planning. And then the second one is from Krashen, Stephen Krashen. He's quite popular in these affective factors. He comes up with 3: motivation, self-confidence, and anxiety. And all 3 are, are more psychological things. Listening ability, again, it has been mentioned by Pat Willie. Well, listening and reading are the inputs. So if you, what you have to do to improve your listening skill is to listen. But in this case, you need to listen a lot. You need to improve your listening skill in order to be able to have good speaking skill, good input, right? From listening ability. So listening skills here are very essential in developing student speaking skills. The other one is topical knowledge. What I mean by topical knowledge here is the knowledge stored in students' long-term memory that can affect their speaking performance. Like without good knowledge, let me put it this way. If you read a lot, if you listen a lot, then of course you will have good topical knowledge. So if you are given a topic to talk about and you have good knowledge, then it's going to be great performance overall. On the other way around, if you don't have good topical knowledge, even though if you have good speaking skill, but you can't talk about anything because you can't produce things. You know nothing about, let's say, about the topic that is being discussed in the class. And this is the last one, feedback during speaking activities. So according to Hammer, it cannot be done whenever there is a problem by teachers. So it's quite a problematic issue, especially in speaking class, because let's say if one student is presenting his or her, task in front of the classroom, oral task, and then she makes mistake, you as a teacher, you really want to stop him or her in the middle of the presentation, but some students can't take it that way. Because at the time when you stop them and try to give feedback or to correct their mistakes, then they will freeze. They will really freeze because they all at once, they forget everything that they want to talk about. But if you choose to wait till the end of the presentation, if you choose to wait to give feedback after the presentation, then they might forget what have been done previously, what their mistake is. So that's why I say this is kind of problematic issue here. Well, methods, I use 50 students, I look at 50 students, English department students, and they are in speaking class. The way to collect the data is through observation and interview. Again, it's very standard. Now let's come to results of the study, and let's check whether or not Grass' answer is in line with the finding of my result. Well, the first one is there is no clear relationship between gender differences and students' participation and engagement in speaking class. So he's a male, let's say, it doesn't necessarily mean that he can't participate or he can't engage in speaking class. Or she is a female, it doesn't mean that she can't participate well or she can't engage well. So no clear relationship between these differences and their participation and engagement in speaking class. But there are several differences occur in their performance and achievement. Let's see those several differences that occur. You can see here that both male and female students have demonstrated their participation and engagement. So both of them are the same in participating and engaging in speaking class, considering the factors that can affect their speaking performance in various degrees. Let's see one by one. The first one is performance conditions. In performance condition, in this case, planning, females work better on planning stage. Females are more well-planned. Like here, 61% compared to males, 39%. But they fail to work under time pressure. Let's move to time pressure. Here, male students perform better under time pressure. They can work, 66% of male students can work under time pressure. And 34% of students, female students only, can work under time pressure. I mean, I have like males and females committees here, and they're like, you know, they're showing their face like, okay, if you don't agree, we'll talk about this later. And then, affective factors. When we're talking about motivation, both groups have similar level of motivation, 50% male, 50% females. But male students have higher level of self-confidence. Do you know why? Males are more confident compared to females. And also they have lower level of anxiety than females do. This is really in line with what Stephen Krashen says, that the lower the self-anxiety, the higher the self-confidence, and on the other way around. So let's move to listening ability. Listening is the input, right? If you still remember what Pat Willie has mentioned before. So if you are good in your listening ability, then you are going to be great in your speaking skill. In this factor, the group of males have better ability. I try to put them into four groups: outstanding, good, average, and poor. In outstanding group, 36% of males is there, and then only 24% of females. 40% of male students is in good group, and 36% of females. And 16% of males, average is 28 for females, 8% of poor males, and 12% of females is in poor group. So this proves that because more male students have good ability in listening skills, we can say that they are better in their speaking performance. But is it true? Well, let me continue. When I asked them in the interview section, what they said was mostly the male students who are in the groups of outstanding and good, they say that in their free time, they usually listen to English songs and watch English movies. And for female students, well, quite many of them say to me that their favorite movie is Korean movies, and they like listening to K-pop. Whether or not this is the main reason, I don't know. But this is a fact that I found from the research field. Now let me continue. This is about topical knowledge and feedback during speaking ability. Male students have consistently outperformed female students in these two factors. Like 61% of male students are great in topical knowledge. They say that they like reading magazine, they like watching news through internet, and then 39% of females only. And feedback during speaking ability, 85% of males, they can take any kind of feedbacks, positive or negative feedback. And then 15%, only 15% of females say that, okay, I can accept negative feedback as well. So what I can assume from this result is because maybe, well, the reason is not really clear, but maybe because males are more tougher and stronger because of the way that we brought up to be males. So I think this makes them tougher than females in taking all kinds of feedback, including negative ones. So back to the questions. Gender differences in FL class, speaking class in Indonesia, does it matter? The answer, based on my study, the answer is yes, it matters because it can contribute to students' achievement. Even a little bit, still, it does contribute to students' achievement. But each individual of group, each individual of either male or female, still can improve every factor that can affect his or her speaking performance. So when I say, based on the finding, when I say that male students have better listening ability, it doesn't mean that female students cannot improve themselves. No, they still can improve themselves. That's why I said each individual can still improve his or her speaking performance by practicing. By doing lots and lots of practicing. Let me jump to my conclusion. First one is shortly speaking. All I can say is this research is a small scale one and it cannot be generalized, but at least it has proven that the overall performance of male speaking class is better than females. So I think the issue of gender differences has to be taken into account in EFL speaking class. And but again, whether or not the issue of gender differences in speaking class matters will entirely depend on teachers' perception. If teachers just ignore this issue, then well, it's really up to the teachers. At least I have provided the data from my study that the issue exists. Whether or not teachers want to take into their consideration is another problem. This is the list of preferences that I use. This writing has been published in a book chapter. If you want to read the full paper of my presentation, you can find in this book. It's a book chapter. It has been published earlier this year, Issues in Applied Linguistic Research and Practice. And this full paper is in there. So, thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, then let's discuss. Thank you, Evelina.
Thank you very much, Ms. Santri, for your interesting presentation. It's contrasting between male and females, reacting to classroom instruction and also teaching and learning process. So for the question and answer session, I'll give the floor to Mario Kaseputra to lead the questions. Mario, the time.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are, Mario.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Santri, for your wonderful presentation. Let me introduce myself. My name is Mario Felix Kaseputra. I'm one of the students of Nusa Tenggara University in English faculty. I'll be the one leading this Q&A session. So without further ado, let's do it. The first question. The first question I'll read is from Mr. Agustino Semyon. Who is more polite teacher in teaching a class, a female class, a male teacher, or a female teacher?
So the question is, let me clarify the question, Mario. The question is about teacher who is more polite in teaching. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Bapak Agus, unfortunately, I didn't look into teachers' way of teaching. I mean, I didn't try to compare on politeness base about teachers' way of teaching. But what I can say is males and females in general, the way they use the language based on several resources that I read, females usually use more polite language compared to males. But I haven't been really so into the study of like who is more polite between males and female teachers. Well, so it's hard to answer the questions before conducting before conducting a research. But it's a good idea for me, Bapak Agus. You put the idea in my head to start looking into that kind of issue. It's interesting. Thank you, Bapak Agus.
The next question is from Mr. Soleman Dapataka. What is the best way of eliminating stereotypes or wrong perception among peers in a class?
uh, among peers? You mean, is it on gender based or just mix? It's not really clear.
I just read the questions.
Okay, would you please come again, Mario?
What is the best way of eliminating stereotypes or wrong perception among peers in a class?
Well, but man, I don't really get your questions, but in my understanding, um, well, if we are focusing on students of university, then I think they know what to do. I mean, they are grown up, right? We don't need to, as lecturers, we don't need to tell them like which one is right, which one is wrong. But if you're focusing on students of high schools, then of course we have to tell them uh, which one or which way, according to us, is better to make them what is it? To make them not to focus on that kind of stereotypes. But I'm still again, if I'm not really answering your questions because I myself I can't get it. Whether it's what you mean is peers like males and females, because I'm talking about gender differences, or what you mean is peers in general, like mix in the classroom. Sorry about that if I'm not answering your questions. Okay, Mario?
Yes, Miss, thank you. So this will be the last question, unfortunately, due to the limitation of time. The last question will be from Miss Maria Gracia. Should we develop a different lesson plan for female and male students? That's it.
It's a good question, but I don't think it should be that way. I mean, well, having different lesson plan, it's kind of putting like more burden on teachers or lecturers. But what we need to do, as I mentioned before, like this is the result of my study. At least it's there. If teachers do not really like pay attention into the kind of issue in the classroom, especially in speaking class or any other class. I mean, if you're teaching reading, then you can try to look at that issue in your reading class. If you're teaching listening, you can try to conducting that kind of study in your listening class, at least for your own reference. That, okay, because this one is not really good in listening skill, I might want to consider this kind of group by using this way or that way, or well, whatever it is. So different lesson plan is not needed, I think, but different treatment is needed, I guess. Well, you have to do more work in this case, but if we are called being teachers or lecturers, then we have to be willing to do that kind of more work and things like that to improve our students' skill, our students' achievement. Okay, Mario, that's all from me.
Thank you very much, Miss Santri.